Good morning, fellow Malaysians. This is Matthias Chang from Future Fast Forward once again. A week ago, I gave a very detailed explanation and elaboration on why we should ratify, I assert, the International Convention for the Elimination of all forms of racial discrimination, and that there was no need for anyone to call that we have to amend the supreme law of our country, the Constitution, regards to certain articles governing the monarchy, the sultans, the special positions of the Malay and natives in Sarawak and Sabah, and NEP, or what you can call it, positive discrimination. And I had a lot of good feedbacks from the public. However, before the public could continue to explore and understand the real issues, we were diverted by the horrendous riot of the temple in the Subang Jaya, USJ. And as such, I felt that I need to expose the hypocrisy, and more importantly, and I do not use this word lightly but deliberately, the subversion, the distortion of Islam by a handful of fanatical myopic Islamic leaders who think that because they are so-called experts in Islam and the Sharia, they will get away with it. Let me tell all my enemies who are hell-bent to distort Islam. There's always a few of us who uphold the truth and the principles of truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and will continue to expose those lies. And what I will say to you will shock you today, more than how you were shocked by my last week's expose of the misrepresentations and lies surrounding whether our country should ratify ICED. The reaction of most people is that the Pakatan Harapan surrendered with the tail between their legs to the unreasonable, obnoxious incitement by PAS and Zahid Hamidi, Hadi of PAS and Zahid Hamidi of UMNO. And of course, the Pakatan Harapan leaders is also to blame for the manner in which they responded to those insidious attacks without taking the trouble to explain the true story surrounding ICED and our constitution. Notwithstanding, we have muftis, imams, ustaz within the Pakatan Harapan government and well-qualified lawyer, and a deafening silence of the Attorney General Tommy Thomas, whose role is the advisor to the government. He uttered not one word on ICED, and yet he is well known supposedly in international law as well as constitutional law, and that's why people said he's more than qualified to be the Attorney General. Having said that, let me start straight away, because I need more time to explain today's discussion. First of all, I did avert last time, okay, to the Universal Islamic Declaration of Human Rights. Okay, it's here. Alright. And I'm going to read to you certain portions, okay, of this very important, unique declaration, which expounded in more detail the Universal Declarations of Human Rights of the United Nations way back in 1948. This document was issued on 9 September 1991. Alright? So that the Ummah will have a better understanding from the perspective of Islam how human rights ought to be practiced. Now, let me say to you, there is a foreword written by the then Secretary General, and I wanted to highlight to you the words, right? And you will notice that the entire document is based on the Quran and the Hadith. This is a declaration for mankind, a guidance and instruction to those who fear God. Okay? It refers to the Surah Al-Imran, chapter 3, verse 138. Okay? Now I'll read to you the key parts, if I may. Okay? The foreword. Human rights in Islam are firmly rooted in the belief that God and God alone is the law, giver, the source of all human rights. I subscribe to that principle, even though I'm not a Muslim. Due to the divine origin, no ruler, government, assembly, or authority can curtail or violate in any way the human rights conferred by God, nor can they be surrendered. These are very important words. Alright? Okay? No ruler, government, assembly, or authority can curtail or violate in any way the human rights conferred by God, nor can they be surrendered. Okay? Continuing, it says, human rights in Islam are an integral part of the overall Islamic order and is obligatory on all Muslim government and organs of society to implement them in letter and in spirit within the framework of that order. Alright? It is unfortunate that human rights are being trampled upon with immunity in many countries of the world, including some Muslim countries. Such violations are a matter of serious concern and are arousing the conscience of more and more people throughout the world. I sincerely hope that this Declaration of Human Rights will give a powerful impetus to the Muslim people to stand firm and defend resolutely and courageously the rights conferred on them by God. Human rights by God. The Universal Islamic Declaration of Human Rights is based on the Quran and the Sunnah and has been compiled by eminent Muslim scholars, jurists, and representatives of Islamic movements and thought. And may God reward them in all their efforts and guide us along the right path. 9 September, signed by the Secretary General. And just below the end of the foreword, there is citation of the Quran. O man, behold, we have created you out of a male and a female, and have made you unto nations and tribes, so that you might come to know one another. Verily, the noblest of you in the sight of God is the one who is most deeply conscious of Him. Behold, God is all-knowing, all-aware. It is most important that Surah Al-Hujurat 49 verse 13 was reproduced here as compared to the utterance by some leaders. Alright? In making statements, they did not cite the Quran or the Sunnah, but made subjective statements, especially Hadi, Zahid, Hamidi. The most insidious statement was by the former Chief Justice, a Muslim, a lawyer. And he said It is a war, a matter of war to defend the Bumiltra interests. No reference to this at all. Okay. Now, having said that, okay, now I will explain to you, all right, the fundamental passages, right, of ICET, okay, of ICET, because people don't read the preamble. Now, you have heard the forward, right, by the Secretary General to the Universal Islamic Principles of Human Rights. I will go into more detail later. But now, at this stage, I would like to highlight, right, the preamble of ICET. Considering the Charter of the United Nations is based on the principles of dignity and equality inherent in all human beings, and that all member states have pledged themselves to take joint and separate action in cooperation with the organization for the achievement of one of the purposes of the United Nations, which is to promote and encourage universal respect for and observance of human rights and fundamental freedoms for all, without distinction as to race, sex, language, or religion. I just pause here for a while, okay? ICET is founded on and based upon the UN Charter, which all members, by ratifying and acceding to the Charter of the United Nations, are bound to observe human rights principles and ensure its implementation. It carry on. Considering that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights proclaims that all human beings are born free and equal to all the rights and freedoms set out therein, without distinction. Without distinction of any kind, in particular as to race, color, or national origin. Considering that all human beings are equal before the law and entitled to equal protection of the law against any discrimination and against any incitement to discrimination. That applies to Hadi and Zahid Hamidi. Considering that the United Nations has condemned colonialism and all practices of segregation and discrimination associated therewith in whatever form and wherever they exist, and the declaration of the granting of independence to colonial countries and peoples of 14th December 1960, General Assembly Resolution 1514, has affirmed and solemnly proclaimed the necessity of bringing them to a speedy and unconditional end. Considering that the United Nations Declaration on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination on 20th November 1963, General Assembly Resolution 1904, solemnly affirms the necessity of speedily eliminating racial discrimination throughout the world in all its forms and manifestation, and of securing understanding of and respect for the dignity of the human person. Convinced that any doctrine of superiority based on racial differentiation is scientifically false, morally condemnable, socially unjust, and dangerous. And there is no justification for racial discrimination in theory or in practice anywhere. Reaffirming that discrimination between human beings on the ground of race, color, or ethnic origin is an obstacle to friendly and peaceful relations among nations, and is capable of disturbing peace and security among peoples and the harmony of persons living side by side, even within one and the same state. Convinced that the existence of racial barriers is repugnant to the ideals of any human society. Alarmed by the manifestation of racial discrimination still in evidence in some areas of the world, and by government policies based on racial superiority or hatred, such as policies of apartheid, segregation, or separation. So these are some of the key clauses or passages, right, of the preamble. All right. Now, having said that, okay, you have to understand, okay, how the universal Islamic, all right, principles of human rights came about. So therefore, I will now explain to you, okay, in more detail, because in the forward to the document, Islamic, right? Hold on, bear with me. Declaration of Human Rights, okay? It is stated that it's based on the Quran and the Sunnahs. Okay. So therefore, the foundation, the substratum, is the Quran and the Sunnah. There's no compromise in this document. Don't try to create artificial contention or confusion. If you're a Muslim, genuine Muslim, not a hypocrite, and follow the teaching of the Quran, you cannot but agree that we must ascribe, support, and implement human rights. Now, why do I say that? In the preamble, it says here, human rights decreed by the divine law aim at conferring dignity, honor on mankind, and are designed to eliminate oppression and justice. Whereas by virtue of their divine source and sanction, these rights can neither be curtailed, abrogated, or disregarded by authorities, assemblies, or other institutions, nor can they be surrendered or alienated. Okay? And it goes on. All human beings shall be equal, and none shall enjoy a privilege or suffer a disadvantage or discrimination by reason of race, color, sex, origin, and language. And wherein the rulers and the ruled alike are subject to and equal before the law. Alright? That is also enshrined in our Constitution. The Constitution is the supreme law of a country. But since this document is based on the Quran and the Sunnah, for all Muslims, alright, within this document it says that all Muslims must comply with the provision of this document because it's based on the Quran and the Sunnah. Now, I can assure you, and I stand to invite anyone to prove me wrong, that every article of the universal Islamic Declaration of Human Rights, every article, right, is based on the Quran and the Sunnahs. I have no time to cite all the major Quranic verses, whatever, but I would have quickly refer to you some of the articles to show to you, all right? And I'm willing to bet with anyone $1 million ringgit to prove me wrong, right? That the articles of this declaration is not based on any Quranic verse or exhortation by Allah. Article 1, Right to Life, is based on chapter 5, verse 32, Al-Ma'idah. Right to Freedom, Article 2, chapter 42, 41, Al-Shura, as well as chapter 22, 41, Al-Hajj. Now, right to equality and prohibition against impermissible discrimination. Chapter 46, verse 19, Al-Akaf. Chapter 67, verse 15, Al-Mulk. Chapter 99, 7 to 8, Al-Zalzala. It says, all persons are equal before the law and are entitled to equal opportunities and protection of the law. No person shall be denied the opportunity to work or be discriminated against in any manner or exposed to greater physical risk by reason of religious belief, color, race, origin, sex, or language. Article 4, right to justice. Chapter 4, 59, Al-Nisa. Verse 148, Al-Nisa. Alright? And again, chapter 5, verse 49, Al-Ma'idah. Every person has a right to be treated in accordance with the law, and only in accordance with the law. It's a right and duty of every person to defend the rights of any other person and the community in general. It is a right and duty of every Muslim to refuse to obey any command which is contrary to the law, no matter by whom it may be issued. So don't tell lies and give wrong instruction and follow blindly like Najib, committing crimes and exposing. Justice must be upheld. Alright? Right to protection against abuse of power. Chapter 33, verse 58, Al-Azhar. Every person has a right to protection against harassment by any official agencies. Article 8, right to protection of honor and reputation. Chapter 49, verse 11 and 12, Al-Hujurat. Alright? Rights of minorities. Article 10, Chapter 2, verse 256, Al-Baqarah. Chapter 5, verse 42, 43, 47, Al-Ma'idah. The Quranic principles, there's no compulsion in religion, shall govern the religious rights of non-Muslim minorities. In a Muslim country, religious minorities shall have the choice to be governed in respect of the civil and personal matters by Islamic law or by their own laws. This is enshrined in the Quran. Article 12, right to freedom of belief, thought and speech. Chapter 33, verse 60 to 61, Al-Azhar. Chapter 34, verse 36, Sabah. Chapter 4, verse 83, Al-Nisa. Chapter 6, verse 108, Al-Anam. I can't pronounce it. It says here, every person has a right to express his thoughts and belief so long as he remains within the limits prescribed by the law. No one, however, is entitled to disseminate falsehood or the circular reports which may outrage public decency, or to indulge in slander, innuendo, or to cast defamatory aspersions on other person. Pursuit of knowledge and search after truth is not only a right but a duty of every Muslim. Pursuit of knowledge and truth. Therefore, don't lie, don't mislead. Tell the truth. And yet, Hadi, Zahid, the ex-GJ, former GJ, has not uttered one reference in any public statement on this. It is the right and duty of every Muslim to protest and strive within the limits set up by the law against oppression, even if it involves challenging the highest authority in the state. You see now why the filthy criminal Najib and his regime could have been for so long. Because with the likes of Hadi, Zahid, and the scumbags of the Supreme Council of UMNO, they never hold the principle enshrined in the Quran and then translated and applied into this Declaration of Human Rights. Your right to oppose oppression, even if it's done by the highest authority. Article 13, chapter 109, verse 6, Al-Kifirun, right to freedom of religion. Every person has a right to freedom of conscience and worship in accordance with his religious belief. Right to free association, chapter 12, verse 108, Yusuf. Chapter 4, verse 82, Al-Nisa. Chapter 34, 46, Sabah. Chapter 6, 108, Al-Anam. Every person is entitled to participate individually and collectively in the religious, social, cultural, and political life of his community, and to establish institutions and agencies meant to enjoin what is right, maruf, and to prevent what is wrong, munkar. It goes on, goes on. For time's sake, I'm just highlighting the main ones, right? Right to found a family and related matters. Chapter 4:11, Alisa. Chapter 30:21, Arun. Chapter 2:228, Al-Baqarah. And on and on. Alright? Special rights of a family. Then on chapter 20, rights of married women, which I will not elaborate, you can find in chapter 6, verse 6, Al-Talaq, chapter 4, verse 34, Al-Nisa, chapter 2, 229, 237, Al-Baqarah. For example, another one is Article 23, right to freedom of movement and residence. No one shall be forced to leave the country of his residence or be arbitrarily deported therefrom without recourse to the due process of law. Those extremists, you know, without knowing this right, accuse everyone. Get out of the country. You're immigrants, pendatang, what have you. And it is found in chapter 67, 15, Al-Mulk, chapter 6, 11, Al-Anam, chapter 4, 97, Al-Nisa, chapter 2, 217, Al-Baqarah. Okay? Now it's interesting, in this Universal Islamic Declaration of Human Rights, there is no reservation allowed. No reservation clause as in ICET. Everything must be complied with. No reservation. Okay? Now, we will then now go to the Cairo Declaration, okay, of Human Rights, which was referred to, all right, by Najib in March of this year as part of the National Plan for Human Rights. All right. Now, having said that, let me say to you, the foundation is the Universal Islamic Declaration of Human Rights, which is parallel to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, two main documents, right? And then you have other conventions and treaties under that main umbrella, all right, of UN. In Muslim countries, including Islam, under this big broad umbrella, there are a document called the Cairo Declaration of Human Rights, as well as the Arab Charter of Human Rights. And I'm sure none of you is aware of the Arab Charter of Human Rights and what was the reason, having had the Cairo Declaration, to branch off further, all right, to have a specific declaration of human rights pertaining only to the Arab countries. But that as it may, okay, all right. One of the key passages of the Cairo Declaration is this: believing that fundamental rights and universal freedoms in Islam are an integral part of the Islamic religion, and that no one, as a matter of principle, has a right to suspend them in whole or in part, or violate or ignore them inasmuch as they are binding divine commandments, which are contained in the revealed books of God, and were sent through the last of his prophets to complete the preceding divine messages, thereby making the observance an act of worship, and the neglect or violation an abominable sin, and accordingly every person is individually responsible and the Ummah collectively responsible for their safeguard. Okay? Now, it's very interesting. I'm sure many of you may not know, the OIC, okay, came out with a resolution some time ago setting up an independent permanent human rights commission. I repeat, an independent permanent human rights commission. See, a lot of these scumbags, ignorant lawyers, judges, all right, zealots like Hadi, say, oh, we can't have ICET because there is a commission to monitor the compliance of the articles of that treaty, and therefore Malaysia will be subject to an external commission. And let me tell you in brief, all right, the setting up of this commission in ICET and the way members were elected and governed I'm telling you, is no different from the Permanent Human Rights Commission as well as in the Arab Charter. Okay? Clause by clause, you see the same methodology, same scope of responsibility, same duty, all right, and the right to supervise. That's interesting. In setting up, all right, well, this is what I downloaded, right? All right, OIC, yeah? Web page on the setting up of the Permanent or the Independent Human Rights Commission. Okay? Just tell you. Now, if you go to the website, what's interesting is this, right? Towards the end of the introduction, the Secretary General, all right, make this statement. In the process, it welcomes views and suggestions in the interest of advancing the noble Islamic principle of justice and equality, and for realizing the laudable ideals recognized by Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This is the UN document which they condemn, the zealots, those extremists, the bigots. Here, in the introduction to the OIC, Permanent Human Rights Commission, and says here, right, I repeat that, recognized by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, its first preamble, the inherent dignity and equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is a foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. Can you imagine? A Muslim organization say they also share the sentiments of the preamble of the UN Declaration of Human Rights. If you compare article for article, I can show you, all right, not verbatim word for word, but the spirit and intent of the preamble and the articles of these two main documents, all right, overlap, are equal to each other. Here you are. OIC says this, to uphold this preamble of UDHR, of the United Nations. So is the Cairo Declaration, so is the Charter, Arab Charter. Okay. And guess what? In the ASEAN Human Rights Declaration, the same thing. Alright? Okay, Indonesia is a member, Malaysia is a member with Muslim majority population. Alright? And let me just tell you briefly. I'm so sick, right? Reaffirming further our commitment to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Charter of the United Nations, the Vienna Declaration and Programme of Action, and other international human rights agreement instruments to which ASEAN member states are parties. Okay, and that says here, general principles. Article 1 and 2 of the ASEAN Human Rights repeat verbatim Article 1 and 2 of UDHR. All persons are born free and equal in dignity. Okay? They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of humanity. Article 1, UDHR. Every person is entitled to the rights and freedoms set forth herein without distinction of any kind, such as race, gender, age, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, economic status, birth, disability, and other status. Article 2, UDHR. You see, so you have Muslim states agreeing without reservation of the ASEAN Declaration of Human Rights. OIC subscribed to UDHR. So, can you see now the misinformation, the distortion, the deliberate subversion and undermining Islamic documents? Can you imagine? undermining Islamic documents. Okay. Now, in the Article 1 of the Cairo Declaration, I have no time, I'm just telling you, right? It echoes and is equivalent to Article 1 and 4 of ICERT and Article 2 of UDHR. Article 11, Islamic article, human beings are born free and no one has the right to enslave, humiliate, oppress, etc., etc. Equivalent to UDHR 1 and 4 articles. I can go on and on, I'm just skipping it, right? Universal Article 12, Islamic Article 12, right? Is the same as ICERT Article 5. Universal Islamic Article 13, same as ICERT 5 again. See what's the difference is this, right? If it's Islamic Declaration of Human Rights, each right is a separate article. In ICERT, in Article 5, all the rights come under Article 5, but as a subparagraph within the larger ambit of Article 5. That's why I'm saying to you, right? Article 13 of the Islamic Declaration of Human Rights is ICERT 5. Article 15, ICERT 5, all right? And many others, okay? So, what I'm trying to do here is tell you that the articles in ICERT is not unique or distinct at all from two documents. The Universal Islamic Declaration of Human Rights as well as the Cairo Declaration of Human Rights. Okay? Now, like I said, right, in the ICERT Declaration, I had referred to you in my previous video that it allows reservations. In my previous video, all right, I drew your attention to Part 1, Article 1, Sub 4, which says that you can have such policies as NEP, okay? Positive, affirmative action. Special measures, Part 1, Article 1.4, taken for the sole purpose of securing adequate advancement of certain racial or ethnic groups or individuals requiring such protection as may be necessary in order to ensure such groups or individuals equal enjoyment or exercise of human rights and fundamental freedoms shall not be deemed racial discrimination, provided, however, that such measures do not, as a consequence, lead to the maintenance of separate rights for different racial groups, and they shall not be continued after objectives for which they were taken to have achieved. Likewise, in our situation, all right, NEP, what have you, the government has declared many times, it's not forever. There is a time limit, right, to achieve those objectives. Until those objectives are achieved, we as a nation, as a family, should help those who have been deprived with affirmative action. Even events leading to the Constitution of Malaysia, the formulation, if you look at the historical background, the documents, right, it says, right, those so-called special positions would have a period of 25 years since founding, okay? All right? But no one has ever questioned that, okay, affirmative action is unconstitutional or against human rights. Yet, this man, why has he not been charged for incitement? He used the word war. Let me read to you the actual word he used. A former CJ, and he tried to be clever, you know. Okay. Now some of you have criticized me, like Matthias, being a lawyer, you should use, right, more Queen's English. Why use the word no guts, no balls? not many of you, right, speak Queen's English. The equivalent in Queen's English, no guts, no balls, is someone lacked the courage of his conviction. You understand? If I say that, what we say, like, what the hell? He's using such like Queen's English is Malaysian lah. Use simple words like no balls, no guts. Likewise, this judge, he's very plain, no Queen's English, no coarse language. Alright, he says there. He said about ISIL, we may have won a battle to reject ISIL, but the war is not over. I believe groups that are uneasy with the special privileges of Malays, Sabahan and Sarakans will not stay quiet. Even if the Prime Minister changes, there may be pressure on him from within the government, which are too strong, forcing him to do a U-turn. We have seen many U-turns since May 9. It is not impossible, which is why we must be very wary and rise again to fight if needed. The government can't give assurance that the convention won't be ratified in the future. For now, he's satisfied with Putrajaya move to pull the plug on ISIL on Friday. Okay? So, he calls war. As if ISIL, the articles, are totally different and is contradictory, inconsistent, or antagonistic to the Universal Islamic Declaration of Human Rights, or the Cairo Declaration of Human Rights, or the Arab Charter. You see how subversive he is. And he's a judge and a Chief Justice at that, the highest judge, right? Ruling, overseeing the entire system of the judiciary. Thank God he's retired, because he's such obnoxious, myopic, right? Discriminatory, evil thinking in his heart, buried deep, and have a veneer, a facade of respectability, of upholding justice. Everything he say is against the Islamic principles, against Quran. All right? And of course, we have Anwar. I love justice, but I love my race. Where the race comes in the Quran, it says, hey, not race, justice is second to piety, to Allah. Justice. And here I've read use all the articles, right? The importance of upholding justice, even going against the highest authority if they abuse the power. That's it. Can you imagine that? Now, just give an example, okay? Another reservation which can be found in Article 2. Alright? Sorry, Article 2, Subpara 2. The first one was Part 1, Article 1, Subpara 4. Now I read to you, right? States party shall condemn racial discrimination and undertake to pursue all appropriate means and without delay a policy of eliminating racial discrimination in all its forms and promoting understanding among all races. This is a general principle, right? Which I agree. We all do. Even among the Muslims, okay? According to the Quran. But because we know different countries, it will take time. So, by Article 2, Para 2, it says here, state parties shall not may, where the circumstances so warrant, take in the social, economic, cultural, and other fields special and concrete measures to ensure adequate development and protection of what? Certain racial groups or individuals belonging to them for the purpose of guaranteeing them the full equal enjoyment of human rights and fundamental freedoms. So, what do you say there? This is the second clause which enshrine the right of countries to say that, look, because of circumstances, there must be special provisions and special measures to ensure the adequate development and protection of certain racial groups. Enshrined in the Constitution as well as ICET. So why is this scumbag? This scumbag say ICET destroys the Malay rights, use the Bumi rights, the monarchy and Islam. Yet, ICET has reservations. ICET has reservations. But the Universal Islamic Declaration of Human Rights has no reservation. The Cairo Declaration has no reservation. Why do you condemn those two documents? Chief Justice Hadi, Zahid, when there's express reservation allowing country to be exempted, which in my last video says even America invoked these reservation clauses, right? Not to follow certain provisions of ICET. And you whip up emotions, fear, you incite and brainwash the ignorant, uneducated Muslims and Malays, right? To come out, all right? To hide and say it is the non-Malays who want to destroy the Malay race, the religion, and what have you. Where? Where? Tun Mahathir is a Muslim leader. The foreign minister is a Muslim leader. Suharto was led by a Muslim leader at Tan Sri. They went to see, all right, the human rights minister, Murti. The only mistake Murti did was to say, well, I receive you thankfully, but knowing the extent of bigots, extremists, racists, scumbags, we should educate the country first. Alright? So that everyone understands. There's no hurry to rectify. But we must rectify in due course. Because the Quran, Allah exhorts us to do so. Then the people say, okay, there's no hurry. We will study the Islamic documents, the OIC Permanent Commission. We can even invite, because the statutes, right? Okay, of the Permanent Human Rights Commission, all right? The members of this commission, right, offer services to member countries to help them understand better. Okay, and most importantly, if I may show to you, you'll be shocked. You'll be shocked that in the OIC document, after echoing the preamble of UDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, says that they are bound by this convention, of which ICET is one of them. These are all the conventions under the broad umbrella of human rights. Okay? And I challenge any Muslim myopic leader to say this is rubbish, because I downloaded from the OIC, Independent Permanent Human Rights Commission website. Why do they put this? You tell me why. They recognize it. Alright? In due course, they have to do that. Now what's interesting is, right, the Arab Charter on Human Rights 204. Do you know why the Arabs did it? Because they were peculiar, okay, controversial human rights in the Middle East. Muslim killing Muslims. There were no genuine human rights recognition. That's why OIC had to establish the commission to assist those countries. Right? Blatantly contravening human rights, thereby defaming, maligning Islam, Quran, the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him. And there is, in Article 48, which says that the member states must submit reports to the Secretary General of the League of Arab States. In Article 9 of ICET, member states must submit reports to the Secretary General, all right, of the Commission of ICET. Article 53, which is equal to ICET 20, any state party when signing this charter, depositing the instruments of ratification or acceding thereto, may make a reservation to any article of the charter, provided such reservation does not conflict with the aims and fundamental purpose of the charter. Any state party that has made a reservation pursuant to paragraph 1 of this article may withdraw it at any time by addressing notification to the Secretary General of the League of Arab States. Okay, so let me read to you the equivalent in ICET. Here's a reservation in the Charter of Arab States. Okay. Now, in Article 20 in ICET, same as Article 53 of the Arab Charter, the Secretary General of the United Nations shall receive and circulate to all states which are or may become parties to this convention reservations by states at the time of ratification or accession. So, black and white, third clause, Article 114, Article 22, and Article 20. 3 times, you numbskull. There's reservation in this. Recognize, read it now, or you download it. You filthy, ignorant, intellectual masturbators, distortionists. You dare say you rectify ICET is a destruction of Malay rights, Bumi rights, monarchy and Islam? Then how do you explain Muslim countries rectifying? Except Brunei and Malaysia. So please, I'm so sick and fed up. Sick and fed up. And you say, see, one of the biggest problem in this country is, right? The majority of the people here are Muslims and Malay. But led by, they're good people, but led by numbskull, dickheads, alright? Leaders who pretend to know but don't know anything and mouth obscenities, lies, and misrepresenting distortion. This is a problem. The majority led by these numbskulls appear as if they are a minority. Whereas a charter of the Islamic Declaration of Human Rights, of the Cairo Declaration, knowing that they are the Muslim countries, right? They pay attention to the minority. But in this country, you are a majority. Why do you fear? What is the reason for fearing? Unless you're not a true Muslim, you don't adhere to the commandments of Allah and the sunnahs of the Prophet. Peace and blessing be upon him. So you lie, you cheat, so that you can grab power, have a hierarchy of numbskulls to incite, to divide. Because as you know, as long as people are divided, ignorant, you can control them. So can you please, I now invite every Muslim leader across the entire political divide at all levels. I challenge you to explain all these Islamic documents, international Islamic documents, for which, to the horror of the Muslim countries and the leaders of the Ummah, as represented in the OIC, they came out. They were compelled to set up, right, the Independent Permanent Human Rights Commission. It was so hunky-dory. The Muslim countries in the Middle East, barbaric, war criminals, Muslim killing Muslims. For who? For the bloody Zionists? For Mother England? For CIA, MI6, Mossad? They said we are the fight against colonial abuse, apartheid. Do not kill. Uphold the brotherhood. That's why, because of all these atrocities, this came in. Okay? And I can show you, if you read carefully, right, the scope. They can investigate, they can assist Muslim countries to comply. If it was such a hunky-dory, having had the universal, right, substantive document, they had a specific, peculiar Arab charter to address the specific, right, contravention, non-adherence to human rights, as you know. Only lately, Saudi Arabia allows women to drive. Can you imagine that? In this day and age. And there are now, as disclosed in those three documents, special recognition of the right of women. As women in marriage, they cannot be abused. Way back! And yet, you people here, you leaders here, behave, right, like numbskull, bigots to your own people. And then, to make them rally behind you, you use a scapegoat, the non-Malays, to incite. Huh? And what? Run amok! War! And let me just conclude here. Recently, I saw a video. Extremist Muslims, and I have many friends, Muslim friends, who hold positions in England, responsible positions, say it is Sharia law, and as a Muslim, it's my duty to convert Buckingham Palace into a mosque. And today, that man has not been arrested for incitement, for sedition, because of freedom of speech. Can you imagine? If anyone comes to Malaysia, be it a Christian, a Buddhist, or Hindu, and say, we will convert the Agong Palace into a Buddhist temple, or Hindu temple, or a church, he will massacre. He'll be arrested forthwith and detained as terrorists, extremists, what have you. Can you see the difference now? Just watch the YouTube's documentary on how some of these, minority groups blaspheming Islam, distorting Islam. They are a minority, all right, in England, in Europe, but they behave as if, right, they have a right to demand that the Buckingham Palace, whether you like it or not, is their country, shall be converted into a mosque. I dare invite any mufti, imam, ustaz, or political leaders, Muslim leaders, right? If anyone come to Malaysia and say they will convert, they have right to convert the Agong's Palace into a temple, Hindu, Buddhist, or otherwise, or a church, that they can be free and say and what have you, and will not be arrested. Impossible with the present climate. So I hope with this additional, elaboration, because I believe that all of you have been diverted unnecessarily by the so-called rubbish of the temple. This is more important. The rubbish that happened in the temple is a result of misunderstanding, outright contravention, and aberration of basic human rights for all people. We are a family of human beings. Just recall the preamble and the introduction by the Secretary General. Right? No essential difference. But some Muslims say, the UN Declaration of Human Rights is a secular declaration. Therefore not binding. It's evil, misleading, distortion. Yeah, I've shown to you, isn't it? If OIC leaders say to you and recognize us, okay? OIC, I read again. If it's secular, contrary to Quranic exhortations by Allah or the Prophet, it won't say this thing. The OIC, the Independent Commission, welcome views and suggestions in the interest of advancing the noble Islamic principle of justice and equality, and for realizing the laudable ideals. The ideals enshrined, UDHR, are laudable ideals, not scumbag ideals, laudable ideals, recognized by Universal Declaration of Human Rights in its first preamble. The inherent dignity and equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is a foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. The same words, human family, is referred to in the Quran in the Islamic Declaration. Laudable ideals. And you scumbags say that ideals are inconsistent, antagonistic. Shame to the former CJ, shame to Hadi, shame to Zahid, and also, I'm so sad to say, shame to some extent, the leaders right now within the Pakatan Harapan government. You have all the resources of the government. You utter not one word of explanation. No effort at all, with all the resources. So, I would therefore endear all of you, and I beg you, fellow Malaysians, do not fall prey to these numbskulls, these criminal scumbags. Don't be excited. I think it will happen. I think it will happen. God will guide you. If you surrender absolutely to His will and show absolute faith, that Allah will protect you, guide you, defend you under all circumstances, in the face of all enemies. Have that faith. Nothing to worry. Be assured they will commit serious sins. Right? It says here, they must obey the human rights and enshrined in the Quran. Must obey Muslims. But the way they behave, the way they distort, the word was right, sin. In the declaration, Islamic declaration, is a sin. With that, I thank you once again for your attention, and please spread this video far and wide, because many people are still clouded by confusion, distortion, and misrepresentation by Hadi, Zahid, and this numbskull Chief Justice. And I hope Muslim judges in the courts, retired or otherwise, will come forward to condemn this CJ. But they remain silent so far. And if they continue being silent, I will call them out as hypocrites. Alright? Thank you very much. You have a nice day, and God bless you all.